welcome everybody. Today in this session, we are going to see how our customers receive high quality experience as well as service delivery outcome using SAP Cloud ALM for service. Here is the usual disclaimer regarding the information that is shared during this session. And in case if you have any feedback or comments regarding the information that is shared in these sessions, please use hashtag ALM Summit to share your thoughts on social media posts. Now we can get started with the agenda. So in this session, we are going to have a brief look at, we will start with an introduction. A short one, which explains the motivation behind the applications that are built on SAP Cloud ALM for Service, which supports the service delivery process. And this will be followed by the demo of the features and functions that support through each phase of service delivery that will be introduced to you in the introduction. And there is lastly, there is a slide which shares some useful links that you can use in case if you need additional information regarding Cloud ALM for services. To get started with our demo, I will use the first couple of minutes to tell you the reason why we started investing on this collaboration platform for service delivery and what is the purpose of it. So the service delivery transformation started a couple of years ago already when we interviewed certain customers regarding their experience during service delivery. So they had a lot to share, a lot of positive aspects, as well as some important concerns, which we had to address to make the service delivery experience for the customers more easier and attractive. So their main concerns, some of them were, they said they have, there is a lack of transparency in what services are being delivered, when they're delivered, and it's quite difficult for the customers to keep track of these services. And secondly, it took longer lead times for the preparation of these services. And there were different kinds of tools that were used in sharing the information with each other, such as emails, Excel, Word, documents, etc. And lastly, it was a tedious effort for the customer to consolidate different issues that were identified from different services and keeping track of the recommendations that were provided by SAP and applying them and knowing if they have really provided a value in fixing those issues or not. Hence, our aim became to provide an effective platform that will support in creating and sharing digitized content with our customers and along the way transform the way we deliver service across each stage that we see here. So the service delivery, the execution of service itself consists of three main steps. So starting from the preparation of the service, we move on to the actual service delivery. And then once the service delivery is completed, there is a follow-up phase. Now we will move on to see what are the different activities that happen during each one of these steps and how the features and functions that we have built on Cloud ALM for Service as part of this collaboration platform supports these phases. So during the preparation of the service delivery, so it is a close collaboration. It is always a close collaboration between SAP and the customer. So the first thing when the customer books a service, so the booking and the request for service, it is always a step before the actual service execution starts. So that is not our focus today. But when the actual service starts, from there, we take our scenario for this demo, and also the applications that are built are only supporting the execution process of the service. So once the service has been confirmed between the customer and SAP, and a service team is assigned to deliver the service, the service team starts interacting with the customer. The first and the foremost thing that happens is confirming the scope of the service. So what is the system that is involved? What is the different data points that has to be analyzed? What is the business process in scope, and so on. So that always depends on the kind of service that is being delivered, and the different kinds of services that are offered by SAP are always available for you, our customers, to have a look at using our service and support portal. So once the service scope is confirmed, service team is also sharing the prerequisites that needs to be fulfilled before the service execution can start. So this is again very service specific. So these are at the moment shared. So before the platform was in place, it was shared with customers using a slide or emails or Excels and so on. So, however, what is covered in this step is for the SAP delivery team to ensure that the prerequisites to deliver a service are fulfilled in time so the service execution can go smoothly. And what also happens in this phase is, since we have a lot of communication between SAP and customer, we document this information and we share meeting minutes. And if a workshop has to be delivered as part of the service, we also share the agenda with the service team to make sure that we have all the participants required to participate in these workshops are informed and are available. Now, this being said, I will move on to the demo part in the system to show you how it actually looks like and what are the features that we can use during the preparation phase to share the information with our customers. So just give me a moment. All right, so this is our SAP internal Cloud ALM tenant, which we service delivery teams or the service delivery organization has access to, where we can see all the services that are planned to deliver across different customers. So we use our own SAP internal tenant to create and share the content, whereby customers on the other side use your own Cloud ALM tenant, where you receive the service information that is relevant for you, and you can work with the information that is shared by SAP for the specific services that are delivered to you. So I will just go back. So you must be familiar with SAP Cloud ALM homepage. This is how it looks like, and all the features and functions that are delivered as part of the collaboration platform that I talked about is available under SAP Cloud ALM for Service. And Service Delivery Center is the core app from where you can get access to all the other interacting applications. And this is also the place where you can get an overview of all the different services that are delivered in the past, that are currently in progress, and also the ones that are planned in future to be delivered. So that information you can easily access using the overview option right here. So you go into the overview, and since this is the SAP internal tenant, what we see here is what is offered I'm sorry about that. Just have to make sure. Tenant is back on. All right, let's just ignore that for now. Okay, that is not looking good. Just have to make sure that the daily delivery is not affecting the production tenant. Just give me one moment. Okay, this seems to be working. We get lucky now. So since we have a problem there, let's just use switch the tenant. I'm sorry about that. All right, so let's go in. Okay. Very good, no errors. So when there are no errors on our internal SAP tenant, then this is how it should function. So basically, we see a list of all the services that are scheduled to be delivered within a time range. And this is the overview of the list of services. And let's say for our demo purpose, there is one specific service that I want to deliver, which I have as a service delivery expert marked as a favorite. Then I can use that service or access that service directly from the favorites. And let's say I'm delivering the service for Red Bull, and this is the service I want to access. This directly leads me to the details of the service. So what I can see here is the scope that is defined for this service. What are the systems that are involved in the service delivery? And the different types of sessions that will be delivered as part of this service, and the team involved in delivering this service. So this is the details of the service that we see. And in the preparation phase, as I said, there are certain prerequisites for each service that we have to deliver. So for example, for this service, these are the prerequisites that has to be fulfilled. And there are some that has to be fulfilled by our customers. For example, implementing a specific node here. This is something that the customer has to do. And also another task which is relevant for customer. Usually the tasks that are relevant for customers are created as external tasks, and they're shared. And the moment they are created for the customer, they start showing up in the customer's own Cloud ALM tenant. And there is also one assigned to me for SAP to fulfill. So it is an internal task, and that is also available right here. So from this view, I can always see, okay, what is the status of the of each task that is required to be completed, and if I need to follow up with a customer or with the internal service delivery team to get this fulfilled in time. So the details can be viewed here, so what needs to be done. And in case the customer has questions or the users on the customer side have questions, they can use the comment functionality here to get clarification regarding the task that is assigned to them. So this is how we make use of the preparation tasks function to communicate the prerequisites that needs to be fulfilled. Now, moving on, I also mentioned that we share other generic information, such as if there is a workshop that is to be delivered at the customer, we have to prepare and share the agenda. So that is something that we do using, we can do using notes function. And the moment we share it with the customer, this also appears on the customer's tenant. So in this case, okay, it is yet to be updated. However, there's also a scoping call that happened together with the customer, and everything that we want to capture, what was discussed in that scoping call is or can also be maintained here. So if there are additional information that needs to be created and shared, you can do so using by adding a note right here. So for example, I can say, if there is an on-site workshop that needs to be, the workshop is delivered on-site, then I can say, okay, can you please share the information regarding this on-site location? And then I can enter the note right here. And since it is, so please share the address of the location for the workshop. So now this note shall be shared with the customer, and he can view this information and update the information on his Cloud ALM tenant. So far in the preparation phase, what I have done as part of the service delivery team is to share the prerequisites as well as certain other information that was or that is required from the customer. And now we will take a look at how this information is available on the customer tenant and how he can make use of this information and communicate and collaborate with SAP. So the tenant where this is the customer can access this information is the Cloud ALM tenant which he has onboarded to, and in this case it is our internal test COM tenant. So let's just give it a moment to come up. There we go. And now you see the look and feel of all these applications are going to be the same. So the customer views the information and consumes the information in the same way as you have produced this information as SAP. So this is the customer's Cloud ALM tenant, and he also uses Service Delivery Center as the central application to access all his service-related information. So let's give it a moment to come up. And this is the overview page the customer sees. So probably what you have noticed is there are lesser options here on the overview page because being on the SAP side, we need more features and functions, whereby it is a lot more concise and smaller on the customer side. However, again, the entry point to all the to get an overview of all different services, whether it is historical services that was delivered using the collaboration platform, or the ones that is ongoing, or the ones that will be delivered in future, can also be accessed by the customer using the overview page. So let me just go here. All right. This is where we see all the services. So for example, that the Red Bull has, since that is the customer that we are using, has all these services that were either delivered in the past or to be delivered in the future. Now I want to have a look at the specific service for which I have created information in our SAP internal tenant, and this is the service that is that I'm interested in, where we saw all the preparation tasks were created. And now the customer can also view the information that was shared in the SAP internal tenant. So once he wants to start working on these services, these tasks, he can start by assigning either the task to him if he's the one fulfilling the task. For example, if this note has to be implemented by him, or if I am acting as a user on the customer side myself, I can assign it to me. And once it is assigned to me, I can also change. Let's assume if I have already implemented this node, I can also say it is done, and this information is replicated back to SAP, and SAP Service Delivery Team also knows that now the prerequisite node is in place, and they are good to go with their analysis. So we can do this. And you also see that it is possible, if I'm not the one who is fulfilling this task, but there is another person in my organization who has to take care of this. For example, the authorization request goes to another team, then I can also assign it to someone from my organization who can fulfill this task. So now I have assigned it to a colleague who can fulfill this task, and now this should be taken care by him. So this is how it is made simple and easy to track the progress of preparation tasks, so it can the tasks are completed in time and not affect the actual service delivery. So also if there are notes that are exchanged with the customer, so there were some. So you see here, the one that I just created is also exchanged already. so which I just created now. And before that, the ones that were created are also available for the customer to view. And in case, like I said, if he has questions, he can post his comments right here, and it is immediately replicated to the internal SAP tenant. So this is, for example, a test comment, so we can see how quickly this information is shared with the internal SAP tenant. So this is how the information can be exchanged and be kept up to date by just using this one application without having to go to Outlook or send attachments with Excels and so on. So everything that needs to be done for delivering the service can be captured and exchanged with the service participants. And the next important feature that we will take a look at is the attachments. So it's a simple feature, but also a very useful one, because most of the times we are also exchanging documents from our side with our customers. And also we request customers to share documents such as interface documentation, business process documentation, and so on, whatever is required for us to deliver our service. And this can be easily done by using the attachments feature. And here, anything that our customer uploads for this service is shared. It's centrally stored in our BTP's document management service, which SAP Service Delivery consultants can easily access. And the same, all these documents show up in the attachments function on the SAP internal tenant. Now, this is what is happening in the preparation phase. Now let's just move on quickly to the next phase, which is the conduct delivery phase. So what happens here? So during this phase, we start, depending on the scope of the service, SAP Service Delivery team starts using their expertise and a set of tools, if there are relevant ones for that specific service, to analyze the data points or the systems and or the business processes that are in scope. And we start capturing our findings. So we usually document our findings, depending on the kind of service. Most of the times we document the issues that are found during our analysis, and we also provide recommendations on how to fix those issues. And sometimes it may not be just the issues, but they could also be just generic recommendations that we propose to the customer, so in which they must implement to have a smooth running business process or a transformation from one system to another, if it's a transformation related project and the services relevant for the transformation projects. So they also get documented, and then we prepare a final service report which contains details of each and every analysis that was done. And we perform at the end of the service delivery, if there is a workshop involved, we deliver the different sessions relevant for that service, and we perform a wrap-up on the last day of the service, where we share the highlights, which contains the very high-level information of what was found, what are our recommendations, and what is the follow-up that is required from the customer side to move on with the service delivery, and also apply recommendations and track them in the follow-up phase. So what the customer gets during this phase is, of course, he gets an insight into what were the issues that are identified, and he can also, based on this kind of issues that are identified, he can plan and prepare his team to apply those recommendations within a time frame that he sees feasible. And he also gets access to the full-fledged service result, which contains the details of every analysis that was conducted during the service execution. Now, we will move on to see the different features and functions that we use during this step and how it is used to create content and share with the customer, and how the customer can consume the information during this phase. So let me go back here. So like I said, during this phase, what we do is to use our expertise and tools to analyze the different data points. And the moment we find an issue in the customer system, during our analysis, we document them using issues and actions application. And the integration for which is also provided right within the service delivery center, the core application. So from here, you can see, since I am on the customer tenant, so a Cloud ALM tenant, I already see the issues that are created by SAP and shared with me. And if I want to go into the details of the issues, I can basically just click on these issues here. I see the information, and if there is recommended actions, which is the recommendations to fix these issues, I can also get the details of this information, what needs to be done. And similarly, you also have direct access to the actual issue in the issues and actions management application itself. And if you want to update these issues, then you can directly do so by accessing these issues within the IAM app. So you can basically click on the issues, it launches the issues and actions application, and here you can update the issue. You can also update the attributes of the issue. It's still in open. If you want to say, okay, I want to take over and set this to in progress, this is something that can be done here, either within the application or also directly using the IAM view in the Service Delivery Center. So now this issue has been set to in progress. And lastly, what we in the conduct service delivery phase, what we also do, like I said, furthermore, is to compile the final service results, which contains all the details of all the different analysis that was done during this service. So let's take a quick look at how this final service result looks like. So let's give it a second. Just download it. Good. So, and this final report is what we also use during our final wrap-up, where we present our results to our customers. So we share the management summary, so which summarizes what was the analysis that was done, what was the scope of the service, what was the analysis that was done, and what are the main findings from this service is documented within the summary. And the rest of the sections contains the details of what was analyzed. So if we go into the sections one after the other, there is some generic information regarding the customer landscape, which was used for analysis of the service. And when we go into the details of the different analysis that was performed here, we see the different analysis which was done as part of the going live check. So all those different checks are documented in detail in different sections, and then they are shared with the customer. And this is the information that is used to present in the final wrap-up. And what is also part of this final report is, I go back here, you see it also contains all the issues and actions that we saw in the issues and actions view in the Service Delivery Center, also becomes part of the final service report. So even from here, you can access the details of the issues and the recommended actions for the issues. And finally, the conclusion is also documented here in the final report and shared with the customer. So in case there are participants on the customer side who don't have access to the Cloud ALM tenant, it is also possible to extract a PDF report from this service result application, and can be shared with those participants. Whoever is just interested in the information but do not have access can use the export to PDF option and can be shared with different parties within the organization. So this is how the information is shared during the conduct phase of the service delivery. And once this is completed, the actual service execution ends. And now we move on to the last part, which is the follow-up of a service. So for that, I will go back to my slide, and we will see what usually happens in this phase. So here, the main persona who is involved is the customer, because the SAP has already finished the service. It has shared the final report with the customer, and also the final list of all the issues that were identified and the recommendations that were provided. They are all handed over to the customer. And now it's the customer's task to work upon the recommendations that are provided by SAP and do a thorough follow-up on these recommendations. And for this purpose, what he can use is the issues and actions management application. So we will go in there now. So now we go back. So once the services are completed, the customers and the users on the customer side can access issues and recommendations that are provided across different services. It need not be one specific service, but the different services that were delivered, all of them contain some issues and recommendations, and all of those can be accessed using issues and actions overview, which helps the customer in planning which ones of these issues are relevant for the project that is ongoing, and plan for applying the recommendations for those issues in advance. So here basically gets an overview of the different issues that are delivered across different services. You see here with different service order numbers. And here he can track the progress of the recommendations that are provided based on the status here, and also the ones that are open can be assigned to the relevant roles within the organization. And this application also helps in doing a thorough follow-up, because it gives you a clear overview on what was recommended, what was applied, and in case of the recommendations that were provided by SAP are not fully resolving an issue, whether it needs a follow-up service or an incident has to be created as a follow-up, can be easily done from using the issues and actions management application. So this brings us to the final phase, or concludes the service delivery process. And we now go back here, so which discovers the last phase of the service delivery. And also depending on the kind of contract that the customer has, whether he has a max attention contract or he has an enterprise support contract, he can use different channels to do a follow-up, such as either getting in touch with the TQM, creating a ticket for SAP, or using the CSA to the CSMs, they call cloud service managers, to report their issues and get further support from SAP. So now with this, we conclude the demo of the different features and functions, which we just now saw. So these are just the screenshots of if the demo hadn't worked, but these are the different features and functions which we already saw live on the system. And now, in case if you have any additional, if you need any additional information, we also have links to our for our customers. We have linked to the Cloud ALM tenant right here, where you can actually access the different examples that I showed right now using the Cloud ALM tenant. And if we have our internal colleagues from SAP, then they can access the XALM tenant to have a look at the features and functions that were demoed today. Lastly, if you need any additional information regarding Cloud ALM for Service, then you can access the link here to get more information on overall what is offered as part of Cloud ALM for Service, and also details of each one of these applications that you just saw. And with this, I conclude the session.